This is Skip from the WSGF. Today we're going to take another look at the Dell U2913WM ultra-wide monitor. The first time we took a look at it, we looked at how a number of games handled the ultra-wide aspect ratio. And today we're going to take a little bit of look at productivity, multimedia, gaming consoles such as PS3, Xbox 360, and the Wii U, as well as other multimedia appliances such as an Apple TV and UVerse. So before we get into how the 21:9 panel handles additional media types, I'm going to go through one little bit of productivity housekeeping. I've had a number of people on the forum ask, how do you switch or how do you manage between a surround Eyefinity setup and the 21:9? So this is an Eyefinity setup. This works just the same, exactly the same on NVIDIA Surround. In this current configuration, I've got two mini display ports and a DVI for the Eyefinity and the HDMI on the 21:9 ultra wide. On my NVIDIA setup, I've got two DVIs and the HDMI on the surround and the full display port, full-size display port on the auxiliary on the 21:9. How you switch here 1/2 multiple monitors at 5760 by 1080. When you click the 3, then you get the Dell U2913WM. Here it's on HDMI. All you have to do is click make this my primary display, apply, and then OK or OK. That's all it takes to switch back. You right click, screen resolution. We click on the 1/2, you say make this my primary display. You click OK. When you have the fourth display set up on both AMD, Eyefinity, and NVIDIA Surround, it confuses it, freaks it out, does whatever, and your centered bar ends up over here. If you're thinking of running a multi-monitor plus an ultra-wide and you're concerned about if something doesn't support multi-monitor and you want to go ultra-wide, or if something runs poorly in multi-monitor and you want to go ultra-wide back and forth, really easy to do. You don't have to disable or break up Eyefinity groups or surround configurations. You just switch back and forth between what is your primary and your secondary monitor, and you're all good. So here I have my Retina MacBook Pro hooked up through the dual link DVI connector. Considering that the monitor is much wider than it is tall, with that extra horizontal aspect ratio, I decided to put my dock here on the side, and that's worked out really well for me. There's not a whole lot to say about just general productivity. You have a lot of screen real estate. It's easy to do side-by-side windows with regards to, say, coding or browsing Word documents, Excel sheets, video editing, photo editing, anything like that. You can see here that it's easy to take two browser windows and get a really solid width on both of them, being able to browse pretty much anything. So the first thing I do want to look at here from a multimedia standpoint is the Despicable Me 2 trailer here on YouTube. We've got it in the normal window. It's only 720p. It's a 16:9 aspect. So if we go ahead and start that.
Hold your horses. Who are you texting?
My friend Avery.
Avery. Avery. Is it the girl's name or the boy's name?
Does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
So looking here, it's a 720p stream. There's a slight amount of edge jagginess or artifacting, but it's still really sharp from the distance I'm sitting about 2 feet away. Looks really good. Being a 16:9 format, you get the pillar boxing with the black bars on the left and right, and the 16:9 area ends up having right at a 23.5-inch diagonal. Overall, it's still a sizable screen to be able to watch your traditional 16:9 content on. 24-inch panels being pretty much the de facto standard that a lot of people are moving to. 23, 24-inch, being a reasonable price. So I would say it works well for that aspect ratio and that display of content. So looking here at the Hobbit trailer for the Desolation of Smaug, you can see that it's got black bars here. So it is a 21:9 ultra wide aspect. So we will start that up here for a moment. And you'll see here that once we go full screen, it is filling the entire screen. The YouTube bars will fade out, and it is very lovingly, very breathtakingly filling the whole screen. It's a full 1080p feed, and it looks great. It looks phenomenal. Obviously, Peter Jackson is known for making really good movies with really great action and cinematography. And I mean, being able to see this here full screen is really a treat. So from a movie standpoint or a media standpoint on your Mac or your PC, where you can make the window full size, it works really well. You get 29 inches on the ultra wide, and again with 16:9, you get right at 23.5 inches. Okay, so what we're going to look at here is renting a movie on iTunes on the PC. This is the $3.99 HD rental, 1080p. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go full screen, and we can see that it indeed fills the screen. There are no black bars. So we're going to take another look here at media on a PC. I have the Blu-ray of the extended edition of Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. So this would be the absolute best quality we can get. I have it decrypted through NADVD HD from Slysoft. Great piece of software if you want to watch Blu-rays on your own system. I have that then streaming, or that then playing through VLC. So you can see here I've got the VLC window, and it's actually a little bigger than what will fit on my screen here with the player at the bottom, as well as the letterboxing and everything. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into video, crop, so it says default, so I'm going to crop to the 2.35 to 1, and then I may see here, so let's look at 2.39 to 1. 2.39 to 1 gives me the least amount of black bars that are available. So then I will take this as well and then go full screen with it, and you'll see the player will disappear. And so here on a PC, this is how we would watch Blu-ray in the ultra wide, cinematic wide, Ben-Hur mode, whatever you want to call it. So the next thing that we're going to look at here is UVerse hooked up through HDMI. We've got a show here on DIY Network called Ice This House, starring the famous or maybe infamous Vanilla Ice. I mean, who doesn't love a little Rob Van Winkle every day? So you can see here that it is a 16:9 formatted picture. If I pull up the menu, it's showing a resolution of 1080i. So that is what the box is outputting. It's not a 1080p 30 or 60 or 1080p 24. It is a 1080i. So that's 1920 by 1080 interlaced. Overall, the picture quality looks good. It looks as good as you would get on a TV with the UVerse receiver. The question is, or the question I want to answer is, when you play a movie off of HBO, Showtime, or whatever, that is formatted for the ultra widescreen, for the 21:9, can you get it to fill the frame? So I have queued up here in my recordings. I have a bunch of stuff here. Some of it's just TV, some of it's movies. I found one movie that I had recorded that I haven't actually watched yet, but that I could queue up, that was in the ultra wide aspect, and that is Real Steel off of Showtime. So you can see here we've got a nice robot fight scene going with Hugh Jackman, and it is in the ultra widescreen aspect. You can see within the 16:9 we've got the letterboxing, and then we have the left and right black bars for what we would consider at the WSGF to be window boxing. So it looks like we're looking through a small window. So I'm going to go through here on the menu and look at my scaling option. So if I go to display settings, right now I have it at 1:1. So it's producing a 1920 by 1080 pixel screen. I go to auto resize, I get the same thing. If I go to wide 16:9, I get the same thing. And if I go to wide 21:9, you'll see that it's taking my 16:9 and stretching it. So sort of like the old days of taking 4:3 and stretching it across 16:9 on an HDTV. It's pulling things out of circle aspect, and it's not maintaining what we would expect to see. So it does not appear, at least on this panel, other manufacturers may have some different settings, but there does not appear to be a way to take a letterboxed ultra wide screen and zoom into it or blow it up or whatever you want to call it in a way that would give us the full 21:9. So here we see the Xbox 360 fully running, signed into my profile. It's only a 16:9 as you would expect. It is coming up here at a resolution of 1920 by 1080 at 60 hertz. We know that not every game runs at full 1080p, so you will get some internal scaling on some games to hit 1080p at 60 hertz. Movies or any other media that you buy or rent or play or stream off of the Xbox Live network will only fill this screen the 16:9 window as we saw off the U-version. So here we've got a PS3. You can see menu works fine. Everything shows as you would expect. It is again running at a 16:9 window on the display. The display does show it at 1920 by 1080 at 60 hertz. So you're getting the full 1080p 60 hertz treatment here. Like we saw in the U-verse and like we would expect on the Xbox 360, anything that you watch or do is going to be within this little window. So our last look here at consoles will be the Wii U. Got this one started up. I've got my Wii U pad in front of me. As you can see here, it's working just fine. Again, we've got the full 16:9 aspect. Bunch of Mii's running around. It is showing a full 1920 by 1080 by 60 hertz. So it's going to run at a full resolution of whatever your game will allow. Anything that does internal scaling off of the Virtual Console, the eShop, or anything else will scale internally to the Wii U. So just for another view and another option here, I've got an Apple TV plugged into the HDMI. And I will say that this connection seems to be pretty touchy. I don't know what's going on between the Apple TV and the display. I've had my cable box, my secondary, my fourth monitor, accessory monitor, whatever, hooked up through an HDMI switch. Manual switch from monoprice into the HDMI port, and I also had on the last little test the Xbox 360 running through the switch. Hooking up the Apple TV, it wouldn't recognize at all. I plugged it in directly, and you can see it sort of blinking in and out here. So I don't know exactly what's going on with the Apple TV versus any other source. I've never had this issue on any of my TVs, so maybe it's a loose connection or some incompatibility. I'm not exactly sure. And this isn't really just working well at all. So I would say if you're an Apple fan, and I am, thinking if you've got an Apple TV that you'll use as a set-top box in conjunction with this display, I would say it's just not going to work.